My only complaint, though, Brian, is I was scrolling social media over the weekend, and as you probably also feel, sometimes it just makes me feel a lot dumber than I actually am. And by no means am I a genius. I'm a dumb person. But I saw some dumb idiots at Wrigley Field wearing Caleb Williams USC jerseys and chanting, "Green Bay sucks. Green Bay sucks." It's the first weekend of May. It's beautiful outside, and these stupid Cubs and Bears fans are wasting their energy on us. I didn't love it, to be real honest with you.
I mean, listen, this is the same way the Bears fans were acting 3 years ago, right? Like when they drafted Fields and they gave away the farm to go get Fields, and they were excited at that point in time too. And, obviously there's always optimism when you get a high-ranked quarterback, so to speak. And I understand their excitement and all that. But, they're jumping the gun. And Bears fans always do. They're jumping the gun. They have no idea what this kid can do on against NFL defenses and all, everything. It's so premature, but you know what? I guess we are in May, and you need something to be excited about, and that's where Bears fans are. And none of us will get to see how that team is or how he is until obviously week 1 and 2, and you got to give him the same grace period that you gave Jordan Love, right? Like you can't judge him based off, I wouldn't even say a season, but you can get an idea of who he's going to be within this first season for sure, right? We were all pretty, as Packer fans and people who follow the team, we were cautiously optimistic about Jordan Love, and I think everyone agreed that, hey, we can't judge him based off, 6-8 games. That's hard on him, and this team is young and they're adjusting. And obviously Jordan Love performed the way he did, and everyone was obviously very happy with that. The only difference with Caleb Williams is he's not going to a young team. This is a veteran. This is a veteran team, especially on the offensive side of the football, right? They got, obviously the first round receiver is a rookie, right? I get that. But the rest of that offense is very experienced, so to speak. You look at his weapons, tons of games that those guys have played. So we're going to get a little clue to who he is as a player early on, because listen, if you can't find it and put it together with the weapons that they've given him, I'm not sure who you're going to put it together with, honestly.
No, I think you're totally right. And to your point, it won't be pretty, right? And it wasn't for Jordan Love in his first year as a starter. That month of October for Jordan was really rough. But once it got down to the nitty-gritty towards the end of the season, late November, December, and into the postseason, that's when you saw the flashes of, okay, this guy is a franchise quarterback, bar none, right? He is absolutely a franchise quarterback. For Caleb Williams, though, you do bring up an important point that I think some of us as Packers fans, and for young Packers fans like myself who have been spoiled in this rivalry, is this was a 7-win team a year ago. This isn't your regular schmegular number 1 overall pick type team. This is a team that won 7 games, and then they add an all-pro caliber receiver like Keenan Allen. They add a second tight end, also from the Chargers, ironically, in Gerald Everett. So my question for you, Brian, and we could throw this on the Discount Liquor poll on Twitter, is do you think this rivalry will be back in 2024 to more competitive levels? And Chris Larson running the show, Pebble, if you want to clean that up and make it sound smarter than I just did. But, Brian, you were 17-4 in your career against the Bears. This hasn't been much of a rivalry over the course of the last several decades, but it feels like we might be reaching a point where we might be getting back to competitive levels between Chicago and Green Bay.
We could be, right? We certainly could be. And listen, I think I would like to see it again. I want to see the NFC North as competitive as possible, right? Because when you have a competitive division, the teams that come out of that division are battle tested for playoffs, right? Like that's just normally how those things play out. Like I always looked at it, especially out west when San Francisco was good and Seattle was good. You knew the team that was coming out of there that you would see in the playoffs was going to be good, right? They were just going to be good and then the Rams got a little bit better and that division was hot and now it's cooled. And now it's kind of seeming like the North is going to be that division with Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago added what they added, right? I mean, everyone's excited about that. You don't know about Minnesota. They're kind of the outlier right now. Young quarterback, kind of a iffy roster, so to speak. You don't know how they're going to perform. They could surprise you. They could, play the way I think some people expect them to play, and that's not very good, but you never know. But I'm hoping Chicago gets somewhat better with how much they've invested, especially offensively in that team. But I don't think we're close to seeing Chicago really press Green Bay for at least another year, maybe two. And again, listen, Caleb Williams can shock everybody and play outstanding football and just, dominate. He could do it. I'm not saying he can't. I don't watch college football the way I probably should, especially the Pac-12 or what was the Pac-12. Like I just didn't watch it. It was on too late. I wasn't going to stay up to watch it. So I don't know much about him. I mean, obviously, he's a good player. He won a Heisman, his first overall pick, obviously a good player. But there's something that happens to quarterbacks when they go to Chicago. There's something that happens to them, and not in a good way. We'll put it that way. Something good doesn't happen to them when they go there. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think Green Bay, where we're at right now, I think we're a little further ahead in our development as a young team. Even though they got good veteran players over there, I still think what we got going on in Green Bay is better, and they're further along in their development as a team. I get they're young, but they grew a lot last year. And this team, the Chicago team, they got a long way to go, man. They got a long way to go, and it's not. This isn't a 3-game fix and here's Chicago, they're back, right? Like that's not going to work that way. And unfortunately for a lot of Bears fans, especially the ones I know, they expect instant gratification. They want to see it like right now. Like we drafted him first overall. If we don't start winning right now, this kid stinks. He's this, he's that, and they turn on him. And that's what they do in Chicago, right? They don't give any of their quarterbacks time to really become what they should be or could be. I'm not saying that they should have stuck with everyone forever, but they turn on their quarterbacks quick, and we'll see if that's the case for them this time around.
No, that's a great point. The Homer Hour with you here on ESPN Milwaukee. He's Bryan Bulaga. Alex Strofe in for Homer tonight. And, I was talking to Greg Matzik, our friend, the sports director down the hall at 620 WTMJ last week. And to your point, Brian, he said there's 3 teams where quarterbacks are always ruined. It's Chicago, Cleveland, and the New York Jets. And until you see it, that's when you will believe it. On the other side of that coin, though, Green Bay is the place that develops the heck out of them. And Jordan Love certainly proved that towards the end of last season. We're expecting within the next couple of weeks, I would guess, if not sooner, a big contract extension for Love that probably starts in the per year category with the number 5. But the thing with him is, and I'm no doubter, I'm no non-believer, right? I have my Jordan Love jersey. I'm all in on Jordan. But we saw it for 10 games, Brian. I just really hope to see in 2024 him able to string along an entire season worth of franchise quarterback play, right? And I mentioned earlier that lowly October he had a year ago. I just want to see more consistency. I don't need to see the top level that we saw towards the end of the year all year, but I need to see consistency from Jordan Love, and then I will be very happy with that $50 million plus per year payday.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, and I know people are so everyone's moved on from Aaron and all that. Like, and I understand that, but he's the most recent sample size we can get of what franchise quarterback and all-pro and Hall of Fame quarterback play looks like in Green Bay, right? And people were so accustomed to seeing that, and that's just what they automatically expect when you talk franchise quarterback in Green Bay, right? Like that no matter what, he's thrown for 30 touchdowns a year, essentially like under 7 picks a season, QBR out the roof. And I'm not saying that Jordan Love can't do that. I'm definitely not saying that. But I think we still have to, even if he gets the $50 million a year deal, right? Even if he gets that, we still got to have a little bit of patience with it, right? I mean, because the way he played at the end was so good that's so hard to replicate, and unless you are that guy and that's who you are and that's what you're going to show all the time, which again he could be. I hope he is, and that's what we were so used to seeing from Aaron Rodgers, like every season, every week. That's what you got. But I think what you saw in that October that was brutal was a team that was also struggling around with them, right? Like the receiving group, the offensive line was bad. I mean, there was a lot going into that besides just Jordan Love. And then, like, you saw them all start to, like, look at, like, they must have looked at each other in the locker room and went, like, this is terrible. Like, what are we all doing? Like, this can't be the way we're supposed to be doing this. We know we can do better. And the offensive line picked it up. And then once they picked it up, it gave the receivers time to get open and do what they were supposed to do. They developed throughout the season. They picked it up. And then once all those two keys kind of, aligned, then Jordan Love started playing the ball that he did. And I call me an offensive lineman, kind of a not apologist, but I'm an offensive line guy. There's a direct line between how an offensive line plays and his quarterback, right? Like it's a direct line that is as clear as day. If the offensive line is performing badly, the quarterback will not be able to perform at all. And it's just what it is. And that's what we saw early in the season was an offensive line that was struggling. They weren't pass protecting. They sure as heck weren't running the football. So you put those two things together and defenses just teed off on Jordan Love. Not saying that he was sacked a bunch, but he was pressured a bunch. He had guys in his lap. He didn't have time to go through his reads, and that's gonna impact not just a veteran quarterback, but especially a young quarterback like Jordan Love. So once that tide turned and the O-line started doing what they needed to do and started to play really well towards the end, you saw everything else fall in the line. They started to run the ball better as well. Like everything just picked up, and that helped Jordan Love. So I feel that if that offensive line up front kind of picks up where they left off, and they start humming at a high level early on, we're going to see the same thing from Jordan Love. And that run game with the new running back, I mean, this could be, if we can get those two things going, the run game and the offensive line, doing their fair share, I don't see any reason why Jordan Love can't continue to play the same ball that he did last year. I'm not saying that Jordan Love can't do it without perfect protection, but those things directly correlate with each other.
No, you're spot on that. And now I understand. I always understood, but now I really understand why Homer calls you the doctor of football. He's Bryan Bulaga. I'm Alex Strofe in for Homer tonight.